Hey guys, Joey here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use percussion loops to flesh out a song and make it more interesting. Percussion loops can mean anything from post-production hi-hats to 808 patterns and even vinyl breakbeats. How I use them really depends on the song, so let's open one up and get to work. I want to transform the beginning of this track into something more dynamic, so I'm going to replace the drums and guitars with a breakbeat intro. I've got this looped sample. I'm going to layer this onto the synths and bass. Okay, cool. Let's start with the transition. I'm going to chop up the rhythm and get a little more excitement before the drop. Awesome. Now I'm just going to reverse the synths and fade in the guitars. Okay, cool. The last thing this part needs is a bass drop. Alright, now the whole thing is laid out. Let's get into some mixing. I want this drum loop to feel more crunchy, so I'm going to put on some heavy saturation. The first thing I want here is less sub in the distortion and a little shorter of a distortion response. Awesome. Now I'm just going to cut a bit of the mids and clean up the high end. Since this is an intro, I want to filter out the extreme highs and lows. That's going to make the real drums hit even harder when they come in. Increasing the gate gives the drums this cool choppy sound. I love how that sounds. The last step is to dial back the mix. Awesome. I'm going to shape this a little more with EQ. That's almost there. The last thing I feel like this part could use is a phaser. Using a phaser on the drum loop makes them sound a little more like an effect and less like the actual drum part, which is exactly what I'm going for here. Yep, that's just exciting enough to grab the listener's attention, but not so intense that the next section sounds smaller. Cool, let's move on. Trap elements have been getting more and more popular in radio rock and metal lately, and when used right, it can give a little extra rhythm to a section. I've prepared a hi-hat loop to play over this drop. Check it out. I definitely want to keep the focus on the live instruments here, so I'm going to make the hi-hats a little more subtle. These kinds of hats can sound cool with some widening or doubling. It's not right for every part, especially when they're the feature, but it can give a little more life to this one-shot sample. It's subtle, but the hats do feel a little wider now. These samples are usually already processed, so I don't need to do anything else here. Let's try the breakbeat idea in a different song. This is more of a light indie track, so the approach won't be exactly the same. I'm cool with the start of this song, but what I want to change is right here. The drums sound nice and full for the entire song, so I want to use a filtered drum loop to break it up. I've got this loop here. All I'm going to do is cut the drums during this fill and replace it with the sampled drum loop. I want to make sure this section feels smaller than what comes next, so I'm going to distort it and filter the sampled drums. That's giving some space and making a great transition between these two parts without losing the energy. To get a little extra motion during the next section, I can copy and paste the sample drums and perform a high pass. That's putting most of the emphasis on the hi-hats. Now we're going to reduce the volume to blend it into the background. The last thing I'm going to do here is drag the loops after the last note of the song to a new track. Here I'm going to use filters, a bit crusher, and modulation to create an outro. Drum loops are a great tool for adding extra percussion in a song to make it feel larger than life. They also work great as a transition. Just make sure that your drum loop layers don't sound too much like the actual drum kit, or else they can get kind of muddy. I'm sure you guys have set up some interesting percussion layers in your own mixes, and I'd love to hear about it. So leave a comment below with a creative way that you've used a drum loop. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below and tap that bell to get notified whenever we upload new videos. Until next time, happy mixing.